Hello guys. So I see a few of the members has joined online. So I would like to get a confirmation from you guys about my audio quality and screen visibility. So anyone who is online can give me a confirmation. Okay, so I got a confirmation that I'm audible properly and my screen is visible as well. So guys, we are good to go with today's demo session, and this is JMeter demo session. Basically, this is the very first day, which is day 1. Okay, so let's get started with today's session. And I believe you guys already have gone through the course content that is available on Way to Automation website. If not, I would like that you go through the level course content, that what exactly the course content that we have for JMeter, which we will be covering throughout this entire course. Okay, and you guys can just put your question in between if you have any question, and you can just talk to me, because I'm just giving you unmute permission to all, so you can unmute yourself. By default you all are on mute, so if you have any question and you want to talk to me, you can just unmute yourself and just have your question in between. Apart from that, if you feel that any question that you further have, you can directly mail me on Way to Automation official JMeter email ID, which is jmeter@waytoautomation. Okay, so this is the email address. Okay, so before starting, I would like to introduce myself first, right? And further we will talk about the course, how long it will be, what would be the content that we will be following throughout this course. So let's get started with the introduction. So my name is Amit Gupta, and I'm working as a senior performance engineer in Noida. Basically, I'm working for Kronos Solution, and I have a total 5-year plus experience in core performance testing and engineering. All right, so this is all about me, and let's move to the course, that what exactly we are going to cover throughout this course. Further, we will talk about these topics. So you can say this is what the agenda of today's session. So we will be focusing on these points basically in order to cover this session as a demo session. But apart from that, if you have any out of the box question, any other question that you feel, you can directly have that question, even you guys as well, right? Online attendees can just give me a question in chat box or directly talk to me. So just talking about this course, so this is basically a JMeter performance testing course. So we will learn about performance testing course, concepts about performance testing, that what exactly performance testing is, why we do so, and what are the other things required in order to do performance testing. Basically, in order to do performance testing, you must be having a tool knowledge. Like if you talk about most of the, I feel that you guys are from testing background. So in order to do any kind of testing, talking about automation and manual. So in order to do manual testing, you must be aware about terminologies of the manual testing. Even for automation as well, you need some tool knowledge like Selenium. Apart from Selenium, you should be having some core language knowledge, Python, Java, or other things. So talking about the automation or manual or performance testing. So you need some tool knowledge as well, some other core concepts related to that testing as well. So we will be covering those fundamental concepts about performance testing and focusing on a tool which is JMeter, through which we will be doing performance tests. Basically, there are other tools available in the market through which we can do performance tests, like load runner, right? Web load, neo load. So other tools are available. So we will considering those factors as well, that what are the tools are and what are the benefits of using JMeter. So what is the major benefit of using JMeter rather than using those tools? So we will talk about those areas as well. And talking about the duration of this course. So basically, this course has a duration of around 12 weeks. So about around 12 days, you can say, right? So this will be happen on Saturday, Sunday, every weekends for 2 hours, and it will roughly about 12 sessions, 12 or 13 sessions. So apart from that, we will try to cover that to be conclude the entire course, having all the course content in 12 sessions. But if we think that we need to further extend that, we can go for that as well. All right, so I have a question that at the end of the day, are we able to show experience in performance testing? So you mean that at the end of the course, right? So yes, definitely. If you are joining this course and you go through all the concepts that we are going to learn here in next 12-13 sessions, definitely you can show your experience in performance testing. So you would be definitely able to justify minimum 6 months to 1 year of experience in performance testing. So talking about this course, I will guide you guys through from very basic to a intermediate level stage. So it's up to you that how you are taking those things and concepts. But the course is designed in a way that I will be starting from a very scratch and will go at an intermediate level. So this course how is designed to. Okay. All right, so let's understand that what exactly performance testing is. So talking about the definition, we have a lot of definition, like performance testing is done to validate the responsiveness, and the actual performance of the application. Basically, it's a terminology which says that performance testing is done to evaluate the performance of application. So performance differs from application to application. So performance can be defined in terms of software, or basically in performance testing, it is something that we define that what exactly we want as a result from the application in terms of performance. So we talk about performance testing, we will talk about software performance, and more accurately we will be covering web applications. Okay, if I say that we are going to do performance test of application, so application can be of different type. It can be a desktop application, it can be a mobile application as well, it can be a web application, like we have some application deployed on web and that is publicly available to access to anyone, like we do have our e-commerce website, Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, or other websites. So those kind of websites which is deployed as a web application, for that we are going to have a focus for doing performance test, right? So what exactly we are going to do? We are going to do performance test for that application, and we are going to look at the performance. So what exactly we are going to look? We are going to look at the responsiveness, speed, stability, and other performance qualities or performance characteristics. So we will see these qualities as a performance characteristic. So in order to do performance test, if we are going to do performance test of any application, we are going to validate these things, these characteristics. So these are the terminologies that we are going to actually validate, but not to go in such details that what exactly responsiveness is and what is speed, stability, or how application we have. So in order to understand those things clearly, let me have a scenario, let me have a case where performance testing, you will be better understanding that what exactly performance testing and why it is required. Okay. Okay, so I have a message that there is a network delay, I think, what I type and what is reflected on screen. Just give me a minute. I think it's looking good to me. I'm not sure about the network, and I believe that it is actually slow. And what about the qualities? Just give me a minute, guys. That should go now. Just let me know if you are getting that issue again. All right, so let's take an example that where exactly performance testing is required and why we need performance testing. So yeah.
Hello, Rahul.
Yeah, Ravi.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Actually, my name is Ravi Pratap Singh. Actually, I have some few questions on regarding of this course. Will it cover the automation part in
Yes,
the
please, please.
performance? Sorry,
What is that?
will it cover
What
the
is your question?
automation part? Will it cover the automation in the JMeter?
Okay, what is the next question?
Yeah, I'm asking about the automations. Will it cover in this course
I
automation
got
part?
your question. So to answer your question, we will not be covering automation part in this because this is completely different from automation. We are going to cover
Mhm.
performance area.
Mhm. Okay, but actually most of nowadays a company was asking about the related automation only, not for the manual performance testings.
So there is another
So,
class. Actually, there is other batch going on for Selenium automation, Selenium with Java and with Python. So if you are interested in automation course, so prefer you
mhm.
can find that course as well. But this course basically a performance test course using JMeter. So we will not be
No,
touching
I,
that part here.
actually I'm talking about this course only, the performance testing only, JMeter only, because nowadays whenever you're going for the companies, they are asking for the related to the automation, how to automate our JMX file to the Selenium. So such kind of things actually company interview are asking for the automation part.
Right. So so there is JMeter where you can write your Selenium code.
Mhm.
Basically, through JMeter you can do some automation, Selenium kind of automation. So that part we will be covering if you go through the course content. So there is a topic mentioned there, that integration of Selenium with JMeter.
Okay, then
So
it is fine.
we will be covering that part. But
Okay,
for
thank you.
that, you must be having a knowledge of Selenium. So if you already have expert, you are a Selenium expert and have knowledge of Selenium, you can use that knowledge in your JMeter.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Amit.
All right. Any other question you do have?
No, right now I don't have a. Between I will ask you if you have any questions.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's come to the point that why and where we need performance tests. So let's take an example that that we all dealing with online shopping. So we do online shopping. So let's take an example of Flipkart or Amazon. So basically, we talk about Flipkart. We do shopping from Flipkart. We have an account there. We go to Flipkart. We search for product. Basically, we log in first. We search for product. We add that product into our bag and we place order. So this is what we do in order to purchase any product, and we are done successfully with our order placement. So we do not see any, we do not face any problem in general cases. Even right now, if you are going on Flipkart doing those steps, you will be successfully able to do that. But what happens if there is a sale going on? If there is a big billion sale day going on, have you ever tried doing order placement on those days? So definitely, if you are going to do order placement when there is a big billion sale going on, you will be having some issues. Issues in the sense, probably you are going on launch page, you will find that your page is not loading correctly. So you are going to refresh that. For login, probably you maybe have to try 2 or 3 times, right? Even for add to product, if there is a flash sale going on for any, generally we do for any, flash sale, any mobile is going to be a flash sale, we try to add that mobile into our bag, but that does not happen, right? So we see that there is a spinner going on and that is a timeout, and at the end we are not able to add that product into our bag. So that we got at that point of time, we face some issues, right? So what that is, and what that problem is, and what we can do to avoid that problem, right? So the solution is to do performance test. All right, so their performance test comes into picture, and this is what a use case where performance test comes into the picture. And there we can do performance test of the application in order to avoid those situations. So basically what we can do, we can we can know the capacity of our application, that what is the number of, how many numbers of users actively can work on my application, so my application will be working smoothly. So we can find out a number that these are the numbers. Let's say that 1,000 number of users can be handled by my applications smoothly. And if there are more than 1,200 users are coming on my application and doing online shopping, my application is not going to behave well, and probably it will respond slow, right? So their performance test comes into picture. And as I told you, that performance test is done in order to find out the responsiveness, speed and stability of the application. So you can say that responsiveness, that response time, basically if there is no sale going on, you are going to do login into your application or searching for a product, your product result is returned to you within a second. But if there is a load going on, basically there is a sale going on, your application is not so responsiveness. You search for product and you have to wait along in order to get your result, right? So how long you have to wait, and what are the number of users when there are, and how many number of users into your website actively working, then your responsiveness is not good of the application. So that things we can find out by doing performance test, right? So basically do performance test in order to find out the speed, basically speed and responsiveness. I can now say that for now these are same terms, and stability, like how stable your application is, right? So if there are more than the capacity of the application, the users are actively working, so how long your application is going to sustain. So to find out those things, we do performance testing. All right. Okay, so any question till we got about the concept of performance testing, that why it is required?
Hello, me.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, what is the capacity of JMeter?
So talking about the capacity in terms of load generation, to generate
Yes,
as much load as you want.
yes, maximum how much load I can give for that in the JMeter, because some of the real scenarios some of the site has like million of users need to at the same time able to access the site, right? That time how I can identify that our site performance, whether it is loading proper or not. So in this case, I can cover in the JMeter.
Exactly. So I would say that JMeter is capable enough to generate that much load that your application is not going to sustain. Basically, you can add multiple nodes of JMeter, which is a part of distributed testing. So we are going to cover that part as well. And you can have multiple nodes of JMeter running on different system, and collectively you can use those nodes to generate huge load at your target server. So in terms of load generation, I think that much of load you can generate through JMeter that your application is going to break. So it is, you can say, unlimited load you can generate.
No, one of like sometimes I have done the testing on the JMeter. So like whenever I will give more than load, like maximum number of the concurrent user, like 1,000 users. So sometimes I'm getting the out of memories.
So that is another things. We are going to cover that part as well. Out of memory is not because of load. That is because of misconfiguration of your JMeter, or on the system you are running JMeter. So there are different factors involved in order to get you end of at that situation out of memory, because you have not assigned enough memory to JMeter, or basically you are generating more than the users, which is the capacity of a single node. So if you have to generate huge amount of threads, you need to first increase the memory, and if that is not quite enough, you need to add another JMeter node.
Okay.
All right, so we will covering that as well, since you are already having those concepts. So basically this will be a good thing to you in order to learn more concepts. But that is in post content, that how we are going to increase the memory and how you are going to generate n number of load in terms of adding multiple nodes of JMeter.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Amit.
All right, so now let's talk about functional and non-functional kind of testing. Basically, I believe that you guys are from our testing background, so you must be aware about functional testing. Like, so talking about the functional, we generally validate the things that if there is a feature in your application there, so functionality validation would be that that feature is working expected or not, right? Talking about the search product, so if there is search product feature in any website, so if you put some product into search bar and hit search button, so there will be some result returned. If you type jeans, if you talk about e-commerce website, basically fashion website, so if you type jeans, so in result you must be getting jeans. So that validates your functionality, that your functionality is working well. You type jeans and you get jeans in result. So
Hello.
oh yeah. Yes.
Hi, Amit Anurag this side. Amit, I have a question. Like before starting performance testing on any website, we have any documentation, like the documentation that is provided to developer, and or that the exact expect and actual result should be means comes out after performance.
All
Means
right,
we
I got your question. I
yes.
got your question. So document which is called SLA,
Okay.
service level agreement document. So in
Okay.
that document, each and everything is defined, that what kind of testing we are going to perform, how long we are going to perform, and what is the
Okay.
expected behavior of the system. So there is a document which is called SLA document that is
Okay.
provided to performance tester, basically from the engineering part or from the architect
Okay.
architect part.
So okay, so that document which is been means create before making any
Before
website.
starting performance.
Okay,
Right,
before
right.
starting performance, right? Okay, fine. Thank you
Right.
so much. Thank you.
Hmm. All right. So we are talking about functionality. So functional testing. So we do validate the functionality by validating that the feature that feature exists, that is working expected or not. Like we have given an example of search bar. So we search for product and there is a product result we are getting, which confirms that the functionality is working fine. So if I talk about Flipkart, if I go there, I'm not going to log in right now, but this is a search bar, right? So this is a functionality which gives you a option to search for some product. So here I type jeans and hit enter. So I get some result jeans, right? So this is a functional kind of thing. So I search for jeans and I'm getting result jeans. But if there is nothing is returned in result, I would say that search functionality is not working fine, right? But we have just validated the functionality. We have not given any notice that how much time it has taken to load all the products, right? We have typed jeans here, we hit enter, right? So the page it is just going to blank once. Basically it's still loading, right? And I would say that it has completed now. So my functionality is working fine, but what about the other characteristics, that how much time this page has taken to load? It has taken 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or it has not been loaded, right? So what about those things? We have not enough taken any attention on that part yet. If we are involved in functional kind of things like automation and manual. So manual kind of thing is like we go hit for some search for some products and we see that products are available or not. But how much time it has taken, we are not bothered about that. Even the result has come into 5 seconds, I am okay with that. 5 seconds is not a problem for me when we are talking about this functional testing. But talking about the non-functional testing, what testing includes non-functional, or what type of testing are there which comes under non-functional? So under non-functional, performance testing is one of the testing which comes under non-functional, right? Even security testing is there, which comes under non-functional. So there are other testing which comes under non-functional testing part. In functional, basically we do have automation and manual kind of things. In non-functional, we will be talking about this performance testing. Why we are saying it non-functional? Because we are not validating the functionality here. The functionality of this search box is to search for product. That we are not going to validate. We are not going to validate the product is actually this functionality is working or not. but we are going to validate some other characteristics, like if the search is working, how many times we are getting the result, how many time it has taken in order to get the response, and how many users actively can search for a product. So I will find out the number of users actively hitting my search functionality. In automation or manual, what we do, we validate that, but we do that either manually we are doing. So I will be single user logging into the system. Even using Selenium, there is a one thread which is doing that activity. But in performance, what will we will be doing? We will be doing the search with n number of threads, basically with 50 threads, 100 threads, basically 100 thread in the sense 100 users actively searching the product. And then at that point of time, we will be finding out the response time of the load of the page, that how much time that page has taken to load. Just relate that thing with the time when there is a big billion sale day going on. What happens at that point of time? The same thing happens, because when there is a sale going on, there are a lot of users actively logging into your system. So if we talk about the Flipkart, if there is a sale going on, currently there are moderate users actively working, even you are not interacting with Flipkart. But if you get a news that there is a sale going on, what you will do, you will actively log into Flipkart and doing some activity, searching for product, looking for different products, hitting your wish list, that earlier what was the price and now what the price has been reflected. So you will be doing a lot of activities on the website. So but there is a problem for the website, that the website has to handle n number of loads, much users than before. Earlier there were few users, but now there are actively more users on the website, hitting login page, hitting search page, and are doing add to bag, doing place order. So at that point of time, what exactly the performance of your website, we need to find out. And even we need to find out that how many active users can actively use your website in a smoother way, right? So we need to find out that capacity as well, that what is the capacity of your website and how many numbers of users can be handled by my website. All right, so just a minute. Guys, is my screen visible? Because I got a message that my screen is not reflecting. I think there is today there is some network issue going on. That's the reason I feel slowness here. Oh, there is some delay. Okay, I got that. I will keep that, right? Okay, so this is what about functional and non-functional. So we got a concept about performance testing, that performance testing is done to get the responsiveness of the application. And roughly talking about that, doing performance testing, you can find out the capacity of your application as well, that how many number of users can be handled by my application, and at that number of users, how my application behave. Is it going to work, or is it going to break, right? So we can find out those characteristics using performance testing, and to find out those things, we do performance testing. But this is what the concept of doing performance testing. But how exactly we can do performance testing? So basically, in order to do those things, in order to simulate those scenario, that there are multiple users actively working on your website. So how many users, that depend upon me, that 100 users, 200 users are actively logging into the system, doing some search product, adding product, doing place order. So in order to generate that users, right, 100 users or 1000 users, in order to overload my website, for that I have to do performance test. Definitely I'm going to need some tool. So what is the role of that tool? what we will be doing with that tool? We will doing performance testing, but what exactly we are going to do? Yeah, we will be measuring the responsiveness of the application, right? We will be looking at other characteristics, that how many hits per second is there in on my. But the main thing that using that tool, we are going to generate load on that application, right? We are going to generate users on that application. Okay, so let me give you a understanding here as well. So this is my application, which I will refer as a server. Okay, for that, this is my target. I will say it as a target as well. And for that, I have to do performance test. Basically, this is a server, but inside this, there is a application running. Even this can be your application, but for example, I am taking that. Let's say that this is a application, Flipkart, right? So this is a physical machine on which this application is deployed somewhere. I'm not going in that depth, but in order to make you understand, this is the application which is running on this machine. And I will say that this is my server. This is my target application. So in order to access this application, I have some URL of this application, let's say flipkart.com, right? Or any website which is deployed. This is going to be your website. For that, you must be having a URL, some functionality over there, right? If I have to do performance tests of this website, if there is no load going on, like I have given you example of Flipkart, since there is no load going on, you are easily getting the results. There may be some delay in getting the results because of network slowness, but if you are on a faster network, you will be getting no slowness in getting your result back. But if there is a sale going on, it doesn't matter then on how much faster network you are, you will be getting slowness because your application is slow, right? So how we will be identifying those situations? So we are getting slowness because there are huge load on the server, and the same thing we have to do, we have to simulate. So for that, we have to generate huge load on the application, right? So we have to generate huge load. Basically, these are the loads in the terms. These are the users which are going to user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, user 6, which are going to get into your system, log in into the system, searching for the product, adding that product to cart, placing order, doing that multiple times. It's up to you that for how long you want this activity to be done. So these are the users which are going to hit your system, right? And there will be some load on your system, and at that point of time, you will be getting a notice that what is the response time, how many time my launch page is getting loaded, how many time my search products are getting bagged, and if I'm able to place order or not. If I'm able to place order, how much time my place order is taking. So in order to get those statistics, you have to generate multiple users on your application. So how these users will get generated? Right, exactly, through JMeter. So there is a machine on which JMeter is running, which is responsible for generating these users, right? So this is my JMeter. So this JMeter is generating load in terms of user, because for my application, load is something, if there are multiple users, there is a load on my application, right? For me, what would be load? I am able to climb 100 stairs in 2 minutes, right? So I can climb stairs 100 stairs in 2 minutes. But what if I am given 10 kgs of more load? Will I be able to do that in 2 minutes? Definitely no, because my performance is going to degrade at that point of time. So earlier I was it was 2 minutes time taken to me in order to climb 100 stairs, but with 10 kg more load, right, probably it can take me 5 minutes or 10 minutes time, right? So talking about the performance, that if there is no load or there is no stress on you, your performance would be very smooth. But your actual performance would come into picture when there is a stress on you, when there is a load on you, right? One example or best example can be, you are able to solve any question in your study room or in your classroom easily, but the same question you are given in the exam room and you are not able to do that in that point of time. How? Because you are stressed at that point of time. There is a load on you. So that load can be different. That load terms can be different for different situation. But for my application, which is a software application, load would be in terms of multiple hits coming on the server, multiple users doing some activity on the servers. Okay, so we know that in order to find out the actual performance, we must be having some load on my system, and how that load is going to generate. For that, I need a tool. Basically, we are going to use JMeter right here, but there are other tools available, right? You aware of you have already listen about load runner. There is a tool new load as well, right? If you guys aware, other tools as well, web load, and there are a lot of tools available in the market. So these tools, so what are the role of these tools? Even I would like to now write JMeter here as well. So these are the tools which we say load generators. So these tools are basically load generators. So the main purpose of these tools is to generate load on your system. So the role of JMeter here is to generate load, right? So it's not just simply that we are going to generate load. In order to generate load, you need to learn about the concept of performance testing, other terminologies, and the way the JMeter works, so that you can write your scripts. Even you have an idea of Selenium. In order to validate a functionality, you write your Selenium code in order to traverse from hitting the page, launch page, to navigating through links, URLs, and validating some kind of things. So you write your Selenium script there, right, in order to traverse the flow. So the same thing we are going to do here, generating load using JMeter, right? And these kind of tools like JMeter, load runner, new load, web load are called load generators. So the main idea of using JMeter is to generate load, but it is not quite easy that you are going to generate load using JMeter. But in order to do that thing, in order to generate load, you must be having concepts and terminologies knowledge of using JMeter. Okay. Okay, so we will talk about features and benefits as well. So we got the role of JMeter in performance testing. Basically, the role of JMeter in performance testing is to generate load, and load in terms of users. But how exactly we are going to generate load and all those steps will be covered, right? Basically, we will be having some flow in the sense that we will be having some specific path that we are going to hit the application, search for product, adding that product, and all those things. So scripting areas we will be covering, that how exactly we can generate load. So let's talk about that, features and benefits, even your question to your answer as well. Okay, so most of the guys are reporting about network issue. Just a minute, guys. I'm not sure that what I can do on this network issue. I think it's fluctuating because right this very cannot handle this clear voice. When I give a try to connect my mobile phone, I'm not sure how much speed I will be getting. All right, guys. So if you do not feel that the question or the things is not clear to you, just give me a heads up again, or just write your further questions on my email address as well. Since since there is a network issue going on and I do not have any alternate option available in order to provide you a faster network, so I should be continue with that. All right, so talking about the question by you that which one is better. So we do have other tools available in the market: LoadRunner, NeoLoad, WebLoad, JMeter. So definitely all these tools have their specific areas. So talking about LoadRunner, it's a commercial tool and has many features as compared to JMeter. But since this is not a free tool, and the features available to you, the most of the features available to you are not freely available. You have to go for a license for that, basically commercial license, which is quite costly. You will be getting some limited uses, basically around 50 users, 50 users you will be given for free, but most of the time those 50 users are not quite good enough to generate your target load. So LoadRunner is a tool which required commercial license, right? NeoLoad as well, this is not a free tool. For that as well you are going to require license. Even for that I believe that 50 users are free. For WebLoad as well there are 50 users free. So talking about these, all these tools are not fully available. You can just give it a try to these tools, but since you are going to involve in performance testing, you must require more number of users in order to generate load, right? So you will be required license, of course. One of the other thing that if you talk about LoadRunner, which is available for Windows only, basically there is no such fully support on Linux machine. So if you do have a machine from where you want to generate load, so if I talk about this machine this machine on which this load generator is installed, so if this is a LoadRunner, this machine should be Windows only, right? For NeoLoad as well, for WebLoad as well. So these are Windows platform supported tools. Now let's come to this JMeter. So I'm starting it in a new paint. So if we talk about JMeter, since this is so this JMeter is pure Java application, right? And we already know that if it's the Java application, we are not platform dependent. So having this JMeter, we can simply, if there is a JVM running on, either it's a Linux machine or Mac or Windows, we are not bothered about that. Basically, there is a JVM running on Linux, there is a JVM running on Mac, there is a JVM running on Linux, Windows. So we are not bounded with the platform. We can run this JMeter on any of the machine, right? One thing, since it's a other thing that it's a source free. So basically there are codes available of JMeter, and since it's a free tool, there is no license required. You are not required any kind of license, and no such licensing or any things that you require in order to install your JMeter on your commercial machine as well. Basically, there are machines running on in your organization which are commercial machines, so that are required some additional clearance from other departments, IT departments and security departments, in order to install those load runner or other tools. But in order to install this JMeter, you do not require any license or any other security clearance kind of things. Directly you can use this JMeter, which is freely available on any of your machine, right? One thing I would also like to add, that using these tools, if you are going to use load runner or neoload or web load, basically the complexity. So using load runner, you require a good kind of knowledge about load runner tool. If I talk about that, if you are a beginner and you are going to start with the tool, one side there is JMeter, one side there is load runner. Basically, you can more quickly learn JMeter as compared to load runner. So load runner is not UI oriented. So if you have to if you simply have to hit any website, like any page, if that you have to hit, you write some code there, right? So it's a scripting based. It's not a UI based, and UI is not the major ease using those tools. But using JMeter, this is a basically GUI based application, and you will not require that much kind of scripting or code knowledge. Basically, you can move the things by dragging and dropping as well, right? So these are the major things that you will be getting using JMeter. Since it's a Java based application, it's a platform independent, it says source code free, so you can simply download that and use it without paying any license cost. Nothing is required. And it's a UI based, so it's basically you can make the things, your scripting would be quite easy as compared to other tools. You can simply do the things, most of the things, on your mouse click, right? So these are the things. If you have some Java knowledge, so that would be a plus for you. There is a part where you can write your codes as well. You can go for advanced level in JMeter by using your Java knowledge, JavaScript knowledge. Other languages are supported there, so you can extend that part using JMeter as well. So basically, these are the major benefits using JMeter. Any further question do you have about these topics that we have covered? Anything that you have in your mind? And one of the reason that I will tell you that why we are going to cover performance testing using JMeter, that if I own a company and I have to do performance test for my application, right? So why should I go for a license if the things are available in free? So why should I go for pay for another tool's license, right? That's the reason JMeter is getting demanded. So it's in demand in market because that requires no license cost. So companies are asking candidates that why should I go for load runner license or neoload license or such costly license if I'm able to manage my work using JMeter, which is freely available, right? Just a minute, guys. I'm just trying to switch my network. Just hold on. I feel it's quite better. Guys, I have switched my network, and I believe that you will be getting some clear voice. Okay, so let's move to installation and setup kind of thing. Okay, in order to now set up JMeter, only thing that you require is that Java should be running in your system. And I believe that most of the systems right now having Java set up. So you can check for the Java by just going to command line using typing Java only. So if you have Java some path sets and all things set up, you will be getting these options. Otherwise, it will say that Java is not recognized as an internal or external command kind of thing. So I would, I'm just assuming that most of the guys already have Java setup and running. If there is no Java setup in your system, by the way, you can just refer to other resources available on the internet, and you can simply set up your Java. So one of the pre-requirement is that Java should be running in your system. Okay, and if there is already Java running, simply you can go download the JMeter. Okay, so it's quite easy downloading and running JMeter. It's really quite easy. If you go for downloading other tools, you will face some sign up and other kinds of issues. Since this is freely available, you do not require any sign up and other kind of things. Simply you can type download JMeter, and you can go to the official website, which is jmeter.apache.org. And here you can download binaries, right? Since this is a free tool, the source code is also free. You can download the source as well if you want to look at the source of the JMeter. But since we are not going to do those things here, I will simply download the zip here. Since I'm going to run it on Windows, even you can download the zip, and this can be run on Linux as well. So no problem. You can simply download the zip one, and the version we got 5.2.1. all right, and when this was updated, I believe this was updated in last week or in the 2 weeks only, because I do have a version 5.1.1. so we have a new version 5.2.1. that's good. Once you are downloaded that, where is that? Apache JMeter 5.2.1. Go to extract all, extract here. So we have this folder, Apache JMeter 5.2.1. You only go to get into this folder, and inside that we have a bin folder. I believe that you guys are already aware that how to launch JMeter and all those stuffs, but yeah. So there are 2 files available. Basically, if you have to run it on Windows, you need to just double click on this jmeter.bat. And the same thing, if you have downloaded that file, downloaded that folder into a Linux machine, you simply have to just execute this sh file. So it doesn't matter that you are running on this this entire setup on Linux machine or Windows machine, right? So for now, I have to simply double click jmeter.bat, and if you are on a Linux machine, you can navigate to this location, navigate to your exact location, and simply execute this jmeter.sh. Right? If any of you guys are actively working on Linux and you want to run this JMeter on your Linux machine, I will help you setting up Java. So we can set the Java path on Linux machines as well, and simply can launch this JMeter setup. So once you launch this, you will be getting this kind of UI. So simple, nothing such here added, but this is what the powerful tool through which we are going to do performance test. Basically, you will be not getting any additional preloaded components kind of thing. So you will not be getting any preloaded elements here, but you have to define your own that what elements I need in order to do my performance test. So there are a lot of things available. If you right click on test plan and go add, so there are thread groups here, there are config elements here, there are listeners here, there are timers here, pre-post processor assertion, test fragment, non-test, and a lot of things. So since you guys are not aware about these terminologies, so I will not be going through these details about these on this very first day, but we will be covering all these terminologies and all these concepts in order to use this, right? One thing I found interesting on internet that there are a lot of things available related to JMeter that in order to performance test, you need simply go to add thread group, add a sampler, add a listener, and inside sampler just go add a HTTP request, put your server in a protocol and server name, and in order to view the results, go add a listener, view results tree or something. But trust me, these predefined steps are not going to help you unless you know the exact terms and uses of these terminologies, that what exactly thread group is, what are the meaning of these things, that how exactly user behaves, what is the ramp time, what these meanings are, what are exactly these meanings have, what are the significance of these options. So it's not exactly predefined steps that you can just simply follow those steps and you can master JMeter. Since JMeter is not a independent thing, it's strongly related with performance concepts, right? Since using JMeter justifies that you are going to do performance test, right? And without the concept of performance test, all those terminologies, you are not going to play with JMeter easily. You will be getting problems about the terminologies. Basically, if I talk about these config elements, there are a lot of things available: CSV dataset, config, header, cookie, caches, and almost most of the things are now strongly related with the performance concepts, right? So we will be learning JMeter, but parallelly we need a strong knowledge about performance testing and concepts, that what exactly we are targeting and how exactly that thing can be achieved using this tool, right? Okay, so at a high level picture, we have this concept that this is my target application, and at a high level, using this JMeter tool, I am going to generate load and measuring the performance of my application. Okay, but in order to generate this load and in order to measure the performance of your application, basically response time or hits per second, active number of threads, we need knowledge of this tool, because these things will get available in this tool about response time, threads, hits per second, all these matrices basically, which are non-functional matrices or non-functional characteristics that we have discussed here, right? So these characteristics about speed, responsiveness, hits per second, right? Threads. So all these characteristics will be available in JMeter, right? And having performance knowledge, we can draw a conclusion that this is what my hits per second, this is what my threads are, and this is what my response time of my application. So is it going to work or is it going to not work? If it's not going to work, what should I do next, right? What I can change in my test plan, right? And other conclusions we are going to draw using performance concepts, right? Okay, so we talked about features and basically benefits. So I will give you a GUI overview. So this is the UI of JMeter, where we do have menus options, and these options are also available. This is the test plan. So once you launch your JMeter, you will be getting a blank test plan. So nothing is here. And what a test plan is, a test plan consists of predefined steps. Basically, a test plan must consist a thread group. What this thread group is, a thread group is used to generate load. Basically, these threads. So we say threads in terms of JMeter, right? So here in JMeter we have threads here, and in brackets we have users here, right? So the same thing, threads are users, the same thing. Basically, if I say that there are 10 threads, basically there are 10 users. So now as I told you that we require multiple users in order to generate load. So these are the 10 users which are going to hit your application, right? So what application you want to hit, that you will be defining using another element. So that element is sampler, right? So if this is a application which is a HTTP application, basically a HTTP type application, there can be other application as well. Using JMeter, you are not only bounded to do web application testing, which is on HTTP, but you can go for database testing and other testing as well. If you have a mail server, simple mail transfer protocol is there. If you have a mail exchange server, you can do performance of that server as well. If you have a server which is a FTP server, basically which is transferring, uploading and downloading files, you can generate load on that server as well, right? Apart from that, we do have a JDBC request, so you can directly hit your database as well. You can directly hit the database and look at the performance of your database. Okay, so there are other samplers available. Basically, there are other features available through which you can test different kind of application. Web application which is running on HTTP, HTTPS. Database, directly you can hit your database. If you have to do performance test of your mail server, you can even do that. There is a FTP server, you can do the performance test of that FTP server as well. But in 90 or 95%, or you can say 98% cases, we generally deal with these HTTP kind of websites, right? So these are the threads which I have defined in this thread group. And if this is my target application, so this must be having a URL, a way to access that application, right? So let's say that application is Amazon.in, which is running on HTTPS. So I'm saying that inside this test plan, I have a thread group where there will be 10 users hitting this Amazon.in, right? So do notice here that the performance testing is not done in a way that you are going to harm any running website. Since you are free to generate load here, you are able to define your own users here. 100 users, 10 users, 1,000 users, 10,000 users. It's not mean that you are going to hit Amazon or Flipkart or Snapdeal, right? Basically, you are going to do performance tests. For that you are authorized. Since we are not authorized to hit Amazon.in with that much of user, so there is a rule even that is not legal that any publicly available website you can bombard that using any tool, right? So it's your responsibility not to hit any available website with a random number of users just for practical. This is not recommended. If you are exactly going to do some practical, do it with one, or you can just go with the 2 threads, which is maximum. Definitely, if I own an application, for that I have to do performance test, which is my application deployed on my machine, running on my network, right? For that I have the authority to go and look into that. Then I have right to generate load on that machine. Then I can generate 100 users, 1,000 users, and how much users I do want. I can break that application. Since these applications are public applications, so we are not authorized to go hit that application with that number of loads, right? So do remember that thing. Okay. So we are not going to hit that application with 10 thread, but for demonstration I am just going to hit that with 2 threads. So what will happen that there will be 2 threads generating hitting that application. So what that application is, this is Amazon.in. In place of Amazon.in, you can define your own application, right? Flipkart, Snapdeal. For demonstration we can pick any one, but definitely you should be having your own application, own URL. Okay. So as I told you that this JMeter GUI gives you a very clear interface, and you have to choose element which you want to add that, right? So this thread group will generate a load. This sampler will send your request to your target. But in order to look at the performance statistics, like what is this, how many threads actually working there, and what was the data we have sent through that request, what was the data we received, sent bytes, received bytes, was there any error, was that a successful response or other things. So we get that into other element. Like we have HTTP request, the element in which we get the result is the kind of listeners. So we have different listeners that will show the result, right? That what was the exactly result of that, hitting that application with 2 threads or 10 threads, right? So we have different listeners. The purpose of these different listeners are specific, but for debugging purpose or for demonstration, I'm going to use view results tree, which is the listener available. This will show me that these 2 users, how these 2 users are going to hit this application. I can rename it. I can just copy this and I can give it a request name, which is Amazon.in, right? So not to worry about this, because this is just a demo purpose, demonstration purpose, and since this is the very first session, so I'm just letting you know about the GUI overview. So what are the things available and how we interact with these things, and how easy it is, just to create a script using JMeter. Even if you want to try doing these 3 steps in load runner, you will face a lot of difficulties. So then you have to wander a lot in order to just hit Amazon.in and getting result that what exactly we got, right? So this is one of the simplicity of using JMeter. You can drag and drop the things as well. One of the important thing that you can use shortcuts for copying and pasting. So I can simply copy and paste multiple things right there, right? I can select multiple things and simply delete these things. So this is what the simplicity of JMeter is, right? So just to demonstrate what I'm trying to do here, I'm sending two users to Amazon.in just to hit Amazon.in. Further, if I want those users to just navigate to another page, I can add another sampler, like going into sampler, HTTP request, and say that hitting search page. Not hitting search page, but what exactly I can do. I just let me look into the website. So once my threads will be hitting this, so this page will come up. So I can hit best sellers as well. The next step. So in order to hit best sellers, what I need to do, I simply pass this URL, right? As I hit launch page, I just pass this the URL of the launch page. Again, in order to hit best seller, I can pass the URL of that best seller, right? So what I can do, I can rename it like best sellers, and what I have to pass here, not the HTTP here, but I only need to type here, and better I can add here as well. Right. This is the path portion I can put here, but there it will work as well. But it's the best practice that you put path into path section. So what is the flow now? What are the steps I'm covering now? I'm hitting Amazon.in and hitting best sellers. I can extend my flow as well. I can write my script in order to perform different steps. I can write my script in order to hit launch, hitting accounts, or hitting sign in, getting sign in, searching for product, adding product to bag, and all those stuff. So this is what the scripting part that we can write our things here as well. And you can feel the ease of doing scripting here. Okay. Simply you can add samplers here, and you're going to define your steps that what you want to do. Basically, most of the things are UI based. Okay, so I'm having these things ready. So I can play this from here. I can do a start button. I have a start button here. Once I start, my threads will be hitting that Amazon.in and the next page and then coming out. Okay, so this is I just click play. So it's asking me that you want to save your test plan before running it. So I would say no, because I do not want to save it right now. But if you have to keep it safe, you can save this. So look at the tree. So here it goes. So my first user hit Amazon's.in and hits bestseller. The second user hits Amazon.in, hits bestseller. And now it's up to me that how I'm going to create my scenario in the sense that how long I want these users to run. I can even instruct these users, two users, that go hit Amazon.in, hit bestseller, and repeat that thing for 20 minutes. I can do that as well, right? So that there will be a constant load of hitting those two pages on Amazon.in for 20 minutes. Similar way, we can define steps that users are launching the page, logging into the system, doing some searching for product, adding product to cart, placing order, and repeat that entire steps for 2 hours time, right? So we can define those things using this thread group. Even here we do have a option that is specify a thread lifetime, that how long I want those threads to be run. For now, I have just given only 2 threads and 2 samplers. Basically, these 2 threads will exit after hitting these 2 steps. But if I define that, go run that for 10 seconds. So my 2 threads will continue hitting those 2 URLs for 10 seconds. Right. So these are what the simplicity. I'm just cleared that. No. Okay, so if you do not save that, that will for that I need to do it infinite. Okay, so now here we do have a option. So if we look at the time here, so there are 2 threads actively running out of 2, and it has been 10 seconds elapsed, right? So after 10-second completion, my test has been completed, right? So in that way, it's quite easy to just simulate your actual behavior of the users using JMeter. Yes, we can do that. If we want that, let that users run, unless I stop that manually, we can do that. So what we can do, we can simply do that infinite and just uncheck that. So what will happen, 2 threads will be doing these activities. Basically, whatever the activities are inside this, I can simply add another steps as well. So whatever these steps are inside this thread group, these 2 threads will do it infinitely unless I stop that. So 10 seconds will override that one, right? But if we do not specify the duration, it will be infinite. No, it depends, because let's say that there is a sale going on, right? And I expect that my sale will last for 1 hour. So I can define 1 hour, or I can extend that for 1.5 hours. So it's up to the requirement, that what exactly requirement is and how we want that requirement to fulfill.
Or if you're taking 500 users, right? And if you're putting a check infinite, so they're continually hitting 500 users.
So how many? So doesn't matter that how many users you do have. So those users will be actively hitting the n number of APIs you do have, or n number of steps you do have. Basically, all users, let's say you have 500 users, will be actively hitting the steps you have defined.
Is there any limitation to set users in GUI mode?
Now, there is no limitation, but that depends upon the capacity of your system. Since the load which is generated through this JMeter is basically depends upon the hardware I do have in my machine. So what happens, like there are a few factors involved here. If I'm going to hit API, so the data sent to API and the data received to API are not quite high. Basically, those are JSON kinds of response. So, and even there are other factors involved. If I'm not using this in a tree type of listeners, so basically I'm using this JMeter in an economy mode, not to using graphs, listener graphs, and not to hitting heavy website where a lot of data is returned. I can generate around 500 of threads using this machine. Basically, there are other factors as well. We run that, but that is different. Yeah, it is recommended not to use heavy load using GUI mode, but most of the time I feel that the application you are assigned to do performance test would be capable of handling 200 users, 300 users. So until that, you can manage running through GUI. You can increase the memory used by this JMeter. There is an option in property file. Right now it's 2 GB assigned from 5.1 onward. It is by default 2 GB of memory. Once I launch my JMeter, basically maximum of 2 GB of memory can be occupied by this JMeter. But if you feel that I need some more memory, you can tune that parameter as well. If your system has 16 GB of memory, in my case it is, and I feel that my JMeter requires some more memory, I can assign that to 4 GB, and I can generate around 200, 300 of threads as well. But there are alternatives as well. There is a distributed testing concept. If you feel that one system is not capable enough to generate that much of load, you can add another node as well, and using those two nodes, 3 from 1, 3 from 1, so total 600 of load you can generate. Okay, so there is no such limit generating load. Basically, your application quota would be exhausted, and you can generate more than that thread as well using JMeter. That happens. So there are other things involved, as I told you, that probably you must be having some listeners in GUI, graph listeners. View results tree, one of the costly element which consumes high memory. Probably you are using a lot of assertions, so you need to wisely choose that with how minimum assertions I can manage my script. What exactly listeners I require at runtime. If not, I can simply use aggregate or summary, and then I can write that data into a file, and let upon completion of test, I can just plot that into a graph so that I can get a better understanding rather than using on runtime. Okay. If that not is sufficient, you can go for a non-GUI mode as well. Yeah, that is not a big part. So if you are basically, if you are aware about the performance terminologies and concepts, and all the working, basically that non-GUI part comes into picture for executions. All the scripting you have to go for UI. Post execution, all the analysis and reporting kind of things you are go for the UI. So only the execution part that is going for non-GUI. So that's not a big part. Yeah, definitely we are going to generate. So there are other factors involved. So if you're going to do performance test, you're not going to use your local system, because there are network latency involved in that. If your application is hosted somewhere, let's say it's hosted in USA, or it's hosted in a network, your load generator should be in that network as well, in order to minimize the latency, network latency. So your question is, so that depends upon that how many threads your application demands. The very first level, you are not aware that how much thread my application or how much uses my application can sustain. You have to start with one, go increase the load, and continuously looking at the errors and the response time. Start with one thread, increase that to 10 thread in 5 minutes, again increase that to 50 threads, 100 threads, continuously look at the response time and the errors, that if you do not have an errors. So this is a way where we do an incremental kind of load testing, and we continuously watching the application behavior. When you can look at the JMeter performance as well, your JMeter is not going out of memory. If your JMeter is going out of memory, you know the number of threads, and your application is healthy, then you need to decide that my application is capable more, and my JMeter is dying there. So you can increase the memory, or you can add another node, or you can go for non-GU. Right.
Up to 100 users.
Right.
Network is working fine. If I'm using above 100, internet stop works.
So internet stop works.
Right. So is there any configuration issues or?
Basically, internet problem does not comes into picture. So it's a rare case, right? You need to look at the two different areas, one at your system level and one at your server level. So we are going to a part of the server side monitoring as well. We have covered in previous session as well. So for the application which you are going to test, performance test, most of the time in most of the institute, it is not included in course content about the server side monitoring. But I will cover the server side monitoring as well. I will give you a good idea about server side monitoring, that during your performance run, how actively you can monitor your server. If for the application you are doing performance test, you have access of that server, basically the machine on which your application is running, you can monitor that machine, that currently there is a load on the system, what is the CPU of that machine. For example, in your case, 100 users are working fine. If you are going beyond 100 users, you do not have any visibility at that end what is happening right there. But you do have a visibility there that earlier the CPU was 60%, but above 100 it has bounced to 90. Probably that can be problem. Memory probably has exhausted, there can be problem. You can look at the monitor stats as well. Basically, there is no such application memory exists, right? That if that is a Java application, that happens in that case, you can get a visibility on both as well. But major what we say, major problems we get at the system level. If there is a Java application, that happens that basically your Java application is out of memory, but if you do have access and do have idea about that, you can get into the log and look for that as well. But majority we will be focusing on the system level. Basically your application is running on system which is consuming the resource of the system, right? CPU is consumed of the system, memory is consumed of the system, network is consumed of the system. So your application has no such role right there. Basically that is bounded by the hardware which is provided, right? So there is a question that how many threads can we create on a single machine? So if you are going to test an application which is a lightweight application which is not returning huge data, roughly you can generate around 200 to 300 threads. if you have if you follow best practices of using JMeter and scripting, because there are a lot of factors involved, there are a lot of listeners involved, assertion involves, right? The memory assigned to your JMeter is also a factor. So if you now consider those factors, you can simply generate 200 to 300 threads around. That would not be a problem at all. On a machine which is on a core 2-core machine around, which is having an 8 GB of RAM around, right? No, it's not requirement exactly. Not exactly. You can run that on 4 GB machine as well, right? So for those best details, you can just visit the official website, the hardware requirement. I think that is not too high that you must need 4 GB of RAM and 2-core of basically high-end processor. So that is not exact fixed requirement. But since we are dealing with the performance, right, and the performance of the application, and not on the system, so we should be a free mind at my system level. We should not be having any doubt on my system that my JMeter is having lagginess. Otherwise, we will be mixed up with the lagginess of JMeter and the server. So there would be a lot of confusion, and we should not be able to clearly say that this problem arises because of my JMeter or because of the application. So in order to avoid those situations, we should be getting ready with my for my performance testing with a good configuration system. Okay, so all right, guys. So I think this is one of the demo session that few of the things are basically a very basic things that we have covered in this today's session, and I believe that there are a lot of things, terms and concepts that that is not a single day, 2-3 hours is not quite enough just to give you a good clear picture of performance testing and JMeter. So I believe that there should be a lot of questions you should be having in your mind, a lot of doubts and other things which you are not getting at that time, or basically you are not getting those things using these topics only. So do just post your questions, email me on my email address if you have any specific question, or for now you can just put that question in your chat box, or you can just talk to me, because these are the topics that we have covered, and for today's I think this is what the agenda that we have covered so far. So there is a question that will we cover any live project in this course? So none this not exactly a demo kind of live course that I do have, but whatever the practical that we are going to do, that will be on any project which is actually live. Basically all of my examples using any listeners and kind of things, most of those things will be from any live project only. Like today we talk about that we have now covered this creating a simple test plan. So for that I used Amazon.in. So I will be covering such kind of examples by giving you a real-time website. So yeah, I got your question. So your question is that you in order to understand end-to-end flow of the performance testing on an application. Yes, for that we do have a application which would be a demo application. I will share that application to you. You can let that application run into your system, which will be a local application. You can go record your script. Okay, you can parameterize your script, correlate your script, and you can run your script against that local system. When you can do end-to-end flow execution of your test plan for your local application, which would be running in your system. So most of the things from end to end, you can use that on your local application. Generate report, analyzing that report, how many errors you got. In the meantime, you can look at your local applications, local system CPU and other performance stats. So you will be getting a demo application where you can perform all your required practical kind of things. So talking about the study material, that there is a question that what about the study material. So there is no such predefined PPTs or documents available for me, and this is not the way that I follow for my entire course. So if you feel, you can just make a note at your end, but most of the the way that I take classes is just coming and using this notepad and paint kind of things. So all these course and concepts will be covered in that way only. And apart from this, I will be giving you a demo application which you can set up in your local system in order to do all those practical kind of things. Since here you are not free to generate 100 users of load, so if you want to see that what is the behavior of generating 100 users load, you can generate that 100 users load on your system, which will be running in your local machine, right? The application which will be running on your local machine, so that you can perform all your practical kind of things. So will we cover bin shell scripting as well? Yes, exactly. So in order to make you things clear, what exactly I can provide you the course content which is available on a Way to Automation website. So go to Way to Automation website. Here it is. Yeah, so inside Way to Automation, if you go to where is that? If you go to JMeter in classroom training, you can download course content easily from here. So this is what the course content that we are going to follow. And if you talk about this, you can scenario flow and script, JMeter script recording, and here it is bin shell scripting. So understanding scripting, getting and setting variables, understanding scopes. So we will be using bin shell JSR 223, but trust me, if you are able to do that thing using JSR 223, bin shell works in that way. So since bin shell is not actually recommended in order to have a better performance, so rather than using bin shell, we will be using JSR 223, but same syntax you can run on bin shell as well. So we will be covering a scripting part, all the concepts which is required to do bin shell scripting or JSR 223 scripting. I would recommend that go through this course content, have a look at how this course content look like to you, and if you have a testing background, that would be a great start for you guys to just start with the performance test, because most of the things, concepts, testing concepts would be help you understanding these things getting much better. Okay, so this is what the course content we have, that is going to be covered in around 12 sessions. But apart from that, if you have any other out of the box questions, you can have these questions as well. That would not be a problem at all.
Hello, hello, Amit. Hello.
Okay, so any other question that you have?
Hello, Amit. I am Ravi here.
Web application possible. So what exactly this is? I have a question from Praveen, that web applications possible.
Hello, Mit. As of now, you told that we cannot hit maximum concurrent user to the live site, right? Hello.
Praveen, so you have a question that can we log into open source site like JMeter, like Amazon using JMeter? Yes, definitely you can, but this is not the purpose of doing performance test. Basically, performance test is done for the website which you want in order to find out the actual performance by generating load and all those stuffs. But for your practical, definitely you can go for those available websites, and you can have that. You can just run your script. Any question that you have now? All right, guys. So attendees, online attendees, if you do have any question, just put. Otherwise, we will be closing this session in next 2 minutes. Further, if you feel have any question, you can just write me an email on this email address. And I believe that you already aware about the course fee as well. So if you have any questions regarding course fees and all those stuffs, you can write an email on this email address as well, or you can directly send an email to Weight Automation official website to Raman, which is I believe selenium@weightautomation.com. So that one is also an active email address where you will get your response. Okay, guys, so we are closing this session, and thank you all. Thanks for joining. Okay, meanwhile, I got a question that I want to log into client side performance action internal pages on my present project. Is it possible? So no. So one more thing I would like to add about JMeter, that JMeter is not going to help you finding out the client side and response time. So one of the thing that you can use a Selenium, or you can say a plugin, Selenium plugin, which is going to help you in scripting for UI side, basically a client side. I want to log into client side performance action, internal pages on my present project. Is it possible? So basically you are talking about the UI side response time, right? Client side performance, right? So what kind of internal pages? I'm exactly not getting that. So if I talk that once I hit Amazon.in, so internal pages in the sense these sub requests you are talking about, these kind of requests, you can talk to me. If you feel you can just unmute and just talk to me.
Hi Amit. Hello. Hi Amit.
Yeah, Praveen, you there?
Yeah. Actual requirement is in my project I want to log into my customer site and create a profile of a new customer.
Actually, I'm not getting your voice. So do one thing, just drop
Yeah.
your question to this email address, and if
Yeah.
required,
Okay.
I will share my phone number to you so that you can just
Yeah.
give me a call back and have
Yeah.
your questions, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Just drop me a mail.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, guys. So we're just closing this session, and just let me know if you do have any question. Just write me an email. And thank you all. Thanks for joining. We are closing this session. Bye bye.